We now have an interview from another extraordinary individual as the co-founder of Get Up and Go Colombia and Innovation Officer of Civicus, World Alliance for Citizen Participation. She has been working to emphasize the Colombian culture, biodiversity, food, and history in order to change the misleading negative reputation associated with the region. She is also a Coffee and Naan Changemaker 2022. It is my pleasure to welcome here with us today Luisa Romero. Hi, Luisa.
Hello. I'm so happy to
Hi.
be here. And yeah, okay.
Thank you so much. We're really, really honored to have you with us today. And I'd love to begin by asking what's the issue that you are most concerned about and what's the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so I remember when I was 9 years old, I hear how my dad faced like a difficult situation where a
Doing.
bomb explodes in front of him. I remember that that was something that really impacted me, like by being 9 years old. And then later on, I realized how I was growing up in a conflict territory in Colombia. This totally changed my perspective about what does it mean as a child and as a young person to grow in the middle of a conflict in a territory where you're seeing like how different armed groups are fighting over each other. And the sad thing is that this conflict this conflict lasted during 60 years in our territory, like the longest armed conflict in Colombia. And finally, in 2016, a peace agreement was signed. This armed conflict left us like over 200,000 people dead and also over 9 million victims. So this is the reality that my country is facing, but it's also the reality that many countries in the world are also facing because of war or internal conflict. So this is the issue that really concerned myself, and that is why I decided to become into a peace builder and work for contribute to a better world like in peace.
Yeah, and that is really, really important work. And I mean, I'd love to hear more about how your story interlocks with that and what you're trying to do about this issue, because I'm sure many of the listeners are just touched by what you're saying right now.
Yeah, like this issue of war and post conflict in different territories is something that we need to address. And that's why this was my motivation to become into a peace builder. So 6 years ago, I decided to start my own organization called Get Up and Go Colombia in order to help the communities who were affected by the armed conflict in these territories. So what we do is that we empower these communities and with them, we co-create touristic activities in order to show a different story from a peace narrative, and also like transforming like the stigma that these places because of war had, but now because of the peace agreement is a new territory. So now we are showing the beauty and all these kind of things that were hidden because of the 50 armed conflict. That's also another opportunity to empower young people who are also a part of this movement of peace builder that really believe that it's important to give second chances. So through the projects that we develop, we also help former combatants who change the guns into different initiatives, because right now like the peace is not something about who is the victim and who is the combatant. It's about us as a community. So for us, it's important like to see how like tourism is a tool for peace building and how we can attract new people to visit our territory, but also to support these communities who are working so hard for peace building.
Yeah, no, this is a really, really admirable cause, and I'm sure there are many peace builders at home watching as well who are inspired not only by your story but by you as an individual. And I'd love to know what can they at home do to support you and the work that you're doing, or to even get involved in it.
Yeah, I would say like the first is to leave the stereotypes to one side, because this is something that as a Colombians we
And
face
get
a
involved.
lot. We know that we had a really difficult like history behind, and also like different social media and different shows in Netflix. It doesn't give us like the best like image worldwide. But I would say like the first thing to support us as a Colombians is to just open the mind to discover a country, to discover us as a Colombians, and also like finding ways to support like local young peace builders like in Colombia, but in also the different countries that are facing challenges as this is the war. In the case of on our country, like the best way to support that is coming to your territory and supporting the touristic activities that we do. These touristic activities, as I mentioned, like support communities who are working for peace building, and it's like a different type of tourism that you can explore if you come and visit us. Also in our website, you can find different ways that you can support like donations or also connecting us with more people, with mentors, with people who can help the different communities that we work with. And yeah, like most important is to leave like the stereotypes to one side and start believing in the power of young people who are making the difference in these territories.
Yes, no, I agree with you. Believing in young people, letting young people lead us is always the way to go because it is our future at stake, you know? And I guess that leads me nicely onto a question about those in power. So, given the urgent situation that we face, how do you feel about the actions of those in position of power? And what's your assessment of how they're managing the changes required for our survival? I'd really, really love to know.
Yeah, like for the people in power, it's very important to promote the implementation of the UN Agenda 2250 that recognize young people as an important like peace builders. I believe that this is super important because right now we have different policies that talk about how young people are can be like really good at the role of peace builders, but there are not really like initiatives that implement the policies itself. So I will say that will be one step to pass from the words to the action. And the way to do it is first like providing or supporting the governments to create like safety for young people, because we are seeing how like the different activists that work in this kind of post-conflict territories or conflict territories are facing like threats to their lives, or is a really complex and difficult environment. So I would say like to guarantee like their safety, and also to provide opportunities to access funding opportunities or empowerment opportunities, because that's another issue that sometimes like young people have a really good initiatives to tackle like this problem, but they don't have the resources or the fund to make it possible. So I would say like to believe more like in the talent of young people, because I have seen also how these kind of opportunities also request a lot of like requirements that sometimes when you're a young person starting like in this field, you don't have those requirements. So I would say like that would be like the best way to support local young peace builders.
Yes, and as a peace builder yourself, I'd like to know, what would be beneficial for you and what do you need for your organization? A resource that you feel that you don't currently have, because if we're going to talk about supporting young people, what's the support that you need?
Yeah, like the support that I personally need, I would say, is to provide like an opportunity for young people to share like their experiences and also like their yeah like their needs. So in my case, for example, I really want to increase the impact of my local organization that we are doing in my territory, like to go to different territories around Colombia. So Colombia is the size of Spain, France, and Portugal together, so it's a big territory, and we would like to be able to extend the impact that we do in our local community with other communities. So I would say like the support will be like mentoring could be one, and also like opportunities to see how we can scale our impact.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And I hope that you get that support because the work you're doing is incredible. And you mentioned earlier that young people can get involved in your work by visiting your website. So would you mind telling us what that website is so that those who are listening can come directly to you and start helping out?
Yes, our website is getupandgocolombia.org. That's how you can find us. And also you can find us in all our social media as Get Up and Go Colombia. So we'll be more than happy to, yeah, like to help volunteers, like remote volunteers, like the pandemic show us how it is possible to work like remotely. And we have had different international volunteers worldwide who help us with organization. So we are more than happy to also receive this support.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to hear from you, and I'm sure many people will be visiting that website today. So thank you, and we will support you all the way.